The argument lasted for 3 hours. Maya sat in the corner of the briefing room, listening to adults debate her fate as if she weren't there. Some called her planned suicide. Others called it the breakthrough they needed. Captain Chun called it the most difficult command decision she had ever faced. "She's 12 years old," Dr. Wright argued for the 10th time. "We can't send a child to make first contact with a potentially hostile alien entity." "But she's the only one who can look at it," countered Dr. Vasquez. "The only one who doesn't experience the terror response. Maybe that means something. Maybe she's the key to understanding why the original colonists disappeared." Maya's father, Dr. Raj Patel, had been silent for most of the debate, but finally he spoke up. "I've raised Maya to be curious about the universe, to ask questions when others are afraid to ask them. If she thinks she can communicate with this creature, maybe we should trust her instincts." "Raj," Maya's mother said, her voice breaking slightly. "It's our daughter." "I know," he replied gently. "And I also know that Maya has always seen things differently than other people. Remember when she was 8, and she was the only kid in her class who wasn't afraid of the rescue dogs at the fire station? She said she could tell they were gentle just by looking in their eyes." Maya finally stood up. "Can I say something?" The room fell quiet again. Captain Chun nodded. "Everyone keeps talking about how dangerous the dragon is," Maya said. "But it hasn't actually hurt anyone, has it? The original colonists are gone, but there's no evidence they were killed. Maybe the dragon was trying to protect them from something else. Maybe it moved them somewhere safe." "To where?" asked Dr. Wright. "I don't know," Maya admitted. "But I think the only way to find out is to ask." Captain Chen looked around the room at her senior staff. These were experienced people, trained for exactly this kind of situation. But none of them could do what this 12-year-old girl was proposing to do. "If we allow this," Chun said slowly, "it would be under strict protocols. Full monitoring. Emergency extraction procedures. And Maya, if at any point you feel threatened, you abort immediately. No heroics." Maya nodded seriously. "I understand. I still think this is insane," muttered Lieutenant Torres. But he didn't voice any further objections. The preparation took 2 days. Dr. Vasquez designed a communication device, a simple tablet computer loaded with mathematical concepts, basic pictographs, and recorded sounds that might serve as a foundation for interspecies communication. Maya practiced with it until she could navigate the programs blindfolded. Dr. Wright insisted on full combat armor for Maya, despite her protest that it might seem threatening. They compromised on a lightweight environmental suit with basic protection but maximum mobility. Her parents spent hours going over emergency procedures with her, making her promise to follow every safety protocol. On the morning of the 3rd day, Maya walked toward the abandoned city. She carried the communication tablet in one hand and a simple white flag in the other, a universal symbol of peaceful intent, they hoped. Behind her, at a distance of 10 kilometers, the entire human population of Zarian Prime watched through long-range sensors and held their breath. The first kilometer was the hardest. Every step took Maya further from human protection and closer to something that had driven away 3,000 colonists. But as she walked, her fear began to fade. The landscape of Zarian Prime was actually beautiful, rolling hills covered in grass that looked almost purple in the alien sunlight, clusters of trees with silver leaves that chimed softly in the breeze. It wasn't hostile. It was just different. The dragon watched her approach from its tower. Even at a distance, Maya could see its massive head tracking her movement. When she reached the halfway point, approximately 7 kilometers from the city, the dragon did something unexpected. It flew down from the tower and landed on the ground at the edge of the settlement, placing itself between Maya and the abandoned buildings. Then it sat back on its haunches like a giant cat and waited. "Maya," came Captain Chun's voice through her comm unit. "The creature has moved to ground level. Do you want to abort?" Maya looked at the dragon, now only 3 kilometers away. Sitting on the ground, it somehow seemed less threatening and more magnificent. Its white scales caught the sunlight like fresh snow, and its eyes were patient. No, Maya said. It's not trying to stop me. It's waiting for me. She continued walking. With each step, the dragon became larger and more incredible. By the time Maya was within 100 meters, she could see individual scales, each one the size of her hand. She could see the way the dragon's chest rose and fell with its breathing. She could see intelligence in those ancient eyes that was deeper and older than anything human. Maya stopped 50 meters away and sat down cross-legged on the purple grass. The dragon tilted its massive head, studying her with an expression that might have been curiosity. "Hello," Maya said. Her young voice carrying clearly in the thin air, the dragon's response was not what anyone had expected. It lowered its great head until it was resting on the ground, bringing those terrible, beautiful eyes down to Maya's level. Then it made a sound, not a roar, not a growl, but something between a purr and a song that seemed to resonate in Maya's chest. "Maya," Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled through the cum. "We're picking up some kind of subsonic frequency from the creature. It might be attempting to communicate." Maya activated the communication tablet and selected the first program, Basic Mathematical Concepts. She held up the device, showing the dragon simple equations: 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, 3 + 3 = 6. The dragon's eyes focused on the tablet with obvious interest. After a moment, it lifted one massive claw and traced numbers in the dirt beside it. 4 + 4 = 8. 5 + 5 = 10, 6 + 6 = 12. Back at the base camp, the monitoring team erupted in excited chatter. The dragon understood mathematics. It could perform calculations. It was definitely intelligent. Maya switched to the next program, Basic Pictographs, showing concepts like food, water, shelter, safety. The dragon watched each image carefully, then did something that made Maya's heart race with excitement. It began to draw, using the tip of one claw as delicately as a human might use a pencil. The dragon sketched images in the soft earth. The first was a picture of humanoid figures, recognizably human in shape, but clearly drawn from the perspective of someone who had observed humans carefully. The second image showed those same figures, but surrounded by what looked like a protective barrier. The third image showed other creatures, things with sharp teeth and multiple legs that looked nothing like the dragon. These creatures were drawn approaching the human settlement from underground. "Oh my God," Dr. Vasquez whispered over the cum. "Maya, I think it's trying to tell you about the missing colonists." Maya pointed to the drawing of the humans behind the barrier, then looked questioningly at the dragon. The great creature nodded, an unmistakably human gesture that sent chills down Maya's spine. Then it drew another image. This one showed the humans being moved, not carried, but walking willingly toward what looked like a cave system in the hills beyond the settlement. The dragon had drawn itself flying overhead, watching protectively. "They're safe," Maya breathed. "The dragon moved them somewhere safe?" The dragon made that purring song sound again, and Maya felt a wave of something that wasn't quite emotion but wasn't quite thought either. It was like understanding without words, knowledge that appeared in her mind fully formed. The creatures from underground came every few cycles when the twin moons aligned. They were hunters, predators that emerged from deep tunnels to feed on whatever they found on the surface. The dragon was old, older than the human concept of civilization. It had seen these hunting cycles many times. When the first humans arrived, the dragon recognized them as intelligent beings who would never survive the upcoming hunt without help. So it had moved them, gathered them up using abilities Maya couldn't quite understand, and relocated them to cave systems where the underground predators couldn't reach them. The humans were alive, safe, waiting for the hunting cycle to pass. "How long?" Maya asked out loud. The dragon drew a final image, the phases of the twin moons. 7 complete cycles. The humans had been moved just before the start of the hunting season, and they would be returned when it was safe. By Earth calendar, that was roughly 8 more weeks. "Maya," Captain Chen's voice was tight with excitement and fear. "Are you understanding it? Can you verify that the original colonists are alive?" Maya looked into the dragon's eyes, those ancient, patient eyes that had terrified every other human who tried to meet their gaze. What she saw there wasn't malevolence or threat. It was kindness, loneliness, a deep sadness that came from being misunderstood for so long. "They're alive," Maya said firmly. "All of them. The dragon saved them." The dragon made a different sound then, softer, more melodic. It reached out with one massive claw and very gently touched Maya's shoulder. The contact was so light she barely felt it, but the meaning was clear: gratitude, relief at finally being understood. Maya activated another program on the tablet, one that played recorded human music. She selected a piece by batch, something mathematical and beautiful that transcended species barriers. The dragon listened intently, its great head tilted in concentration. When the music ended, the dragon began to sing the sound wah. Maya spent 3 hours under the dragon's wing. And those 3 hours changed the course of human history on Zarian Prime. While the adults back at base camp argued about extraction protocols and safety procedures, Maya and the dragon developed the foundations of interspecies communication. The dragon's name, as near as Maya could understand it, was something like Kithara, a sound that combined wind through stone caverns with the distant singing of stars. Kithara had been alone on Zarian Prime for over 3,000 Earth years, the last of her kind after a cosmic disaster had destroyed her homeworld. She had chosen this planet as a refuge because of its regular cycles, predictable seasons, predictable dangers, a place where someone with vast knowledge and patience could create safety. The underground hunters that emerged during the twin moon alignment were called the Vorthek. They were not intelligent in the way humans or dragons understood intelligence, but they were cunning and incredibly dangerous. They hunted by scent and vibration, emerging from tunnel systems that extended far deeper than human sensors had detected. Every few years, when the gravitational pull of the twin moons was strongest, the Vorthak would swarm to the surface for a feeding frenzy that lasted several weeks. That's why the original colonists' homes looked like they were abandoned mid-meal. Maya explained over her unit as Kithara drew more detailed pictures in the dirt. They had to leave immediately when Kithara detected the Vorthak rising. Captain Chin's voice was tight with concern but also growing respect. "Maya, you've been out there for hours. Are you certain you're safe?" Maya looked up at Kithara's massive head, which was currently positioned to shield Maya from the afternoon sun. The dragon's eyes held a warmth that reminded Maya of her grandmother's expression when she told bedtime stories. "I've never been safer in my life." Maya said honestly. The communication became easier as the hours passed. Kithara had observed the first human colonists for weeks before the Vorthak threat forced her to act. She had studied their technology, their social patterns, their obvious intelligence. When the emergency arose, she had used abilities that Maya could only describe as telepathic suggestion to guide the humans to safety. "She didn't force them," Maya explained as Kithara drew images showing the evacuation. "She made suggestions, feelings of unease about staying in the settlement, strong urges to explore the cave systems in the hills. The humans thought they were making their own decisions. The caves where the colonists waited were vast underground complexes that Kithara had modified over centuries to serve as shelter during Vorthak seasons. They had fresh water, geothermal heating, and food stores that Kithara had been stockpiling for decades. The humans were not only safe, they were comfortable. She's been preparing for years to help any intelligent species that might settle here," Maya reported. "This isn't the first time she's rescued settlers from the Vorthak. There were others from different species over the centuries. What happened to them?" Dr. Vasquez asked. Maya's expression grew sad as she translated Kithara's explanation. "They left after the danger passed. All of them. They thanked her and returned to space, looking for worlds that seemed less dangerous. She's been alone again every time." The tragedy of Kithara's existence hit Maya with full force. This magnificent being had spent 3 millennia protecting others, saving entire civilizations from threats they never even knew existed, only to watch them leave when they felt safe. She was a guardian without a people, a protector whose kindness was rewarded only with solitude. Maya made a decision that would define her entire life. I want to stay with her, she said over the unit. Not just today. I want to learn from her. I want to be her friend. The explosion of voices from the base camp was immediate. Her parents demanded she return immediately. Dr. Wright declared the situation too dangerous for extended contact. Captain Chun tried to maintain order while various scientists argued about protocols and procedures, but Maya was no longer listening to the adults. She was listening to Kithara, who had begun to sing again, this time a song of hope and wonder that spoke of friendship across the vast distances between stars. Maya, her father's voice cut through the chatter, gentle but firm. You need to come back now. We can continue communication with the dragon tomorrow. Maya looked at Kithara, seeing intelligence and loneliness and hope in those ancient eyes. She thought about the original colonists, safe in their caves because of Kithara's protection. She thought about all the other species that had been saved and then abandoned this generous creature. She thought about humanity's greatest strength, not their technology or their weapons, but their capacity for connection. No, Maya said simply. I'm not leaving her alone anymore. The silence from the base camp stretched for nearly a minute, then Captain Chun's voice. Carefully controlled. Maya, explain what you mean. Maya stood up and walked out from under Kithara's wing, positioning herself where the dragon and the human settlement could both see her clearly. Humans don't abandon our friends, Maya announced, her young voice carrying clearly in the thin air. Kithara has protected this world for 3,000 years. She saved 3,000 of our people from creatures we didn't even know existed. She's been alone all this time because every species she's helped has been too afraid to stay once they felt safe. Maya turned to face the direction of the human base camp, knowing that cameras and sensors were recording every word. But humans are different. We're not just explorers or colonists. We're the species that makes friends with everything, dogs, cats, dolphins, even plants. We're the ones who see intelligence and loneliness and respond with connection instead of fear. Kithara made a soft sound that Maya had learned meant agreement and approval. The Vortex season will end in 8 weeks, Maya continued. When it does, the original colonists will come back to their settlement. But this time, they won't be alone. They'll have a protector, a friend, someone who understands this world better than any human ever could. Maya paused, then made the announcement that would reshape humanity's relationship with Zarian Prime forever. I propose that we make Kithara the official guardian of our colony. She knows when the dangers come and how to protect against them. She has resources we've never imagined and wisdom we can't match. In return, she gets what she's never had before, a people who stay. Humans who choose to call her world home and her people family. The response from the base camp was immediate and chaotic. Some voices called it brilliant. Others called it insane. Dr. Vasquez was frantically calculating the implications for human-alien relations policy. Captain Chun was trying to figure out how to explain this to Earth Command, but Maya wasn't finished. There's something else, she said, her voice growing stronger with conviction. Kithara isn't just a protector. She's a teacher. She has knowledge about this galaxy that humans have never encountered. Star charts showing civilizations we've never contacted. Scientific principles we've never discovered. History going back millions of years. Maya gestured to the elaborate drawings that now covered several square meters of ground around them. Mathematical formulas, star maps, biological diagrams, technological concepts that would take human scientists years to fully understand. She wants to share it all with us. Every species she's helped before took what they needed and left. But if we stay, if we become part of this world instead of just visitors to it, she'd teach us things that could advance human civilization by thousands of years. Dr. Vasquez's voice cut through the chatter, filled with scientific excitement. Maya, are you saying the dragon has technology we don't understand? Maya looked at Kithara, who spread one wing and traced a complex pattern in the dirt. Equations that described faster-than-light travel in ways that human physics had never imagined. She has everything, Maya said simply. The next several hours passed in a blur of consultation with Earth. Emergency meetings with colony leadership and careful negotiations conducted through Maya as translator. Kithara patiently answered questions about the Vorthak, about the cave systems, about the long-term safety of human settlement on Zarian Prime. The breakthrough came when Captain Chun asked the crucial question, "What does the dragon want from us in return?" Maya relayed the question to Kithara, though she already knew the answer. The ancient being's response was simple and heartbreaking. "She doesn't want anything except not to be alone anymore," Maya translated. "She's been protecting empty planets for 3 millennia, hoping that someday she'd find people who would stay. She's tired of being the only intelligent being in this part of the galaxy." Maya paused, then added something that wasn't quite translation but was absolutely true. "She's been waiting for us specifically. For humans. She says we're the first species she's met that makes friends with dangerous things instead of running away from them." As the sun set over Zarian Prime, painting the sky in colors that no Earthborn human had ever seen, Maya made her final argument. "Every human colony in the galaxy is vulnerable," she said. "We settle planets without understanding their dangers. We build cities without knowing what might emerge from underground or fall from the sky. But here we have the chance to do something different." Maya gestured to Kithara, who was watching the sunset with obvious appreciation for its beauty. "We can be." The first ship to carry humans to Zarian Prime arrived on a Tuesday, though nobody on Earth would know that detail for another 6 months. The colonists aboard the transport vessel New Horizon had spent 18 months in cryo-sleep, dreaming of green fields and blue skies that waited for them on humanity's newest settlement world. They woke to something entirely different. Captain Sarah Chun was the first to see it through the bridge viewport. A massive creature perched on the highest spire of what should have been their new capital city. The thing was easily the size of a city bus, with wings that stretched wider than a basketball court. Its scales caught the alien sun's light and threw it back in blinding flashes of pure white. An albino dragon, though no human had ever seen its like in any fairy tale or legend. "Jesus Christ," whispered First Officer Martinez, his coffee mug forgotten in his trembling hands. "That thing's bigger than our ship." The dragon's head turned toward their approaching vessel with predatory grace. Even from a distance of several kilometers, every human on the bridge felt a chill run down their spine. The creature's eyes were like looking into twin suns, bright, ancient, and utterly alien. When those eyes fixed on their ship, 3 of the bridge crew immediately looked away. One of them, Communications Officer Brooks, actually stumbled backward and had to grab the console to keep from falling. "Sir," Brooks said, his voice barely a whisper, I can't look at it directly." Captain Chin forced herself to keep watching, but her hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the arms of her command chair. The dragon's gaze seemed to pierce through the ship's hull, through the metal and glass, straight into her soul. It was like staring into the heart of a star while that star stared back with intelligence older than human civilization. "Take us down to landing zone Beta," Chun ordered, her voice steadier than she felt. "Stay well clear of the city." The dragon watched their descent with those terrible, beautiful eyes. Not once did it move from its perch atop the ruined city that should have been humanity's new home. As the New Horizon touched down 15 kilometers away from the settlement site, every human aboard knew their dreams of Zarian Prime had just become something very different. The first survey reports painted a grim picture. The original colonists, 3,000 souls who had arrived 2 years earlier, were gone. Not dead, the advanced scouts reported with confusion in their voices. Just gone. Their homes stood intact, meals half finished on tables, children's toys scattered in yards that alien grass had begun to reclaim. It was as if the entire population had simply vanished mid-conversation. The only signs of violence were the claw marks. Massive gouges in concrete walls, scratches in metal that could only have been made by something with talons the size of sword blades. The marks were everywhere, but strangely there was no blood. No bodies, no indication of struggle. Just empty homes and those white-scaled claw marks gleaming in the afternoon light. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the mission's chief xenobiologist, studied the marks with growing unease. These weren't made in anger, she told Captain Chun as they stood in what had been the colony's main square. Look at the precision. The spacing? This creature was marking territory, not attacking prey. Then where are the colonists? Chun asked, but Dr. Vasquez had no answer. None of them did. The dragon never left its perch. Day and night it remained on the highest tower of the settlement, wings folded, watching. The few humans brave enough to use binoculars to study the creature reported the same thing. Those eyes never closed. The dragon never slept. It just watched with the patience of something that had all the time in the universe. Within a week, the psychological effects began to show. Lieutenant Torres, a decorated Marine who had served in 3 conflict zones on Earth, refused to leave the ship after his first patrol near the settlement. I can't explain it, he told the mission psychologist. Every time I try to look at that thing, it's like my brain just shuts down. Like looking at it would kill me. The feeling was universal. Every human who tried to make direct eye contact with the albino dragon experienced the same overwhelming terror. It wasn't just fear, it was deeper than that. It was the absolute certainty that to look into those eyes meant death or worse. It was primal, instinctive, the way a mouse feels when it sees a snake, Dr. James Wright, the colony's head of security, tried to analyze the phenomenon scientifically. It could be some form of psychic projection, he theorized during a staff meeting. Many Earth species use visual intimidation as a defense mechanism. Perhaps this creature has evolved something similar, but amplified beyond anything we've encountered. Then why haven't we been attacked? Asked Dr. Vasquez. If it's capable of psychological warfare, why stop there? Maybe it doesn't need to go further, suggested Captain Chun. Maybe just keeping us afraid is enough. The days stretched into weeks, and the standoff continued. The humans established a base camp far from the original settlement, while outside what they assumed was the dragon's territory. Supply drops from orbit went smoothly as long as the ships stayed away from the city. But every human on Zarium Prime lived with the constant awareness that something vast and terrible was watching them from the highest tower of their abandoned city. It was during the 3rd week that 12-year-old Maya Patel arrived with her family on the transport Second Chance. Maya's parents, Dr. Raj Patel and Dr. Nisha Patel, were both biochemists assigned to help establish the colony's agricultural systems. Maya was just a girl who loved space exploration stories and had begged her parents to let her come instead of staying with her. Grandparents on Earth. Maya was different from the start. While the adult colonists spoke in hushed whispers about the creature on the tower, while grown men and women refused to even look in the direction of the abandoned city, Maya showed something that none of the adults could manage: curiosity without fear. Why doesn't anyone want to talk about the dragon? She asked her mother on their second day planetside. It's dangerous, Beta, Dr. Nisha Patel said, using the Hindi endearment that meant child. Very dangerous. You must never go near the old city. Promise me, but has anyone actually tried to talk to it? Maya persisted. Her mother's face went pale. Maya, no one can even look at that creature without feeling like they're going to die. It's not natural. Promise me you won't go near it. Maya promised, but her mind was already working. She had read every xenobiology text in the ship's database during the long journey from Earth. She knew that intelligent species didn't just occupy territory for no reason. They communicated. They negotiated. They made contact. That night, Maya slipped out of her family's temporary shelter and climbed to the highest point in the base camp, a communications tower that gave her a clear view of the abandoned city. Through a pair of binoculars she had borrowed from the supply depot, she looked toward the dragon's perch. It was magnificent. Even from a distance of 15 kilometers, the creature's presence was overwhelming. Its scales seemed to glow with their own inner light, and its massive wings shifted occasionally in the alien breeze. But when Maya looked at those eyes, those terrible, beautiful, Ancient eyes. She felt something that no other human had experienced since arriving on Zarian. Prime, she felt recognition. The dragon's head turned slightly, as if it had sensed her watching. Across the distance, across the gulf between human and alien, their eyes met. Maya felt a moment of dizziness, a sense of standing at the edge of a vast precipice. But she didn't look away. She couldn't look away. Something in those alien eyes was calling to something in her human soul, for a long moment that felt like hours. Girl and dragon regarded each other across the empty landscape of Zarian. Prime. Then the dragon did something it had never done before. In all the weeks since the human's arrival, it moved. The massive creature spread its wings, each one easily 50 meters from tip to tip, and launched itself from the tower. It flew in a wide circle around the abandoned city, its pale form ghostly against the alien stars. Then, instead of returning to its perch, it settled on a different tower. One that was 3 kilometers closer to the human base camp. Maya lowered the binoculars with trembling hands. In her chest, her heart was pounding not with fear, but with excitement. The dragon had moved because she had looked at it, because she had met its gaze without turning away, because somehow she had passed some kind of test that every other human had failed. The next morning brought chaos to the base camp. The dragon's change of position had been noticed by the overnight watch, and panic rippled through the colony like wildfire. Some wanted to evacuate immediately. Others suggested orbital bombardment. Captain Chin called an emergency meeting of all senior staff. "It's getting closer," Lieutenant Torres said, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Maybe we threatened it somehow. Maybe it's preparing to attack. Or maybe," said Dr. Vasquez thoughtfully, "it's trying to communicate." Maya, sitting in the corner of the briefing room where her parents had left her while they attended the meeting, spoke up for the first time. "It moved because I looked at it." The room fell silent. Every adult head turned toward the 12-year-old girl with the serious dark eyes and the steady voice. "What did you say?" Captain Chun asked. Maya stood up, suddenly feeling much older than her 12 years. "Last night I watched